Good afternoon. Welcome to Agents of Aquarius. I'm Jim, and this is my
This is
cohort,
your boy Matty D coming at you from unnamed mountain state.
unnamed mountain state that rhymes with cocky. All right, guys. The cocky mountains run through many states, so you're going to be safe, man. They'll never find you.
I mean, to be fair, they've already found me. They've had my face, voice, emails, text, and everything else for a decade. So I embrace that fact.
Yeah,
I
but
totally embrace that fact. It's like I will say whatever I want, do what I want without any fear of them because I'm sorry, without fear of being caught by them because they already got me. So fuck them.
I mean, in all truth, you're giving up one hint to where you are because you're saying you have the freedom of speech. And there's really only one place that has that, and that's here in beautiful old America.
You know, it ain't Canada. I remember when
No.
those truckers were doing their thing. Like, yeah, the First Amendment. The judge is like, what? What? It's like, all right, lady, we know you know there's no First Amendment in Canada. Don't like lean into your whatever. She just went about it poorly, but goes to say this is the only country with the freedom of speech
So
that we have.
that's an agent of the Matrix. That's like, hey, we don't have that here because an agent of Aquarius would then be like, well, why don't we?
An agent
What?
of Aquarius would ask that.
Why
You're
don't we have
absolutely
freedom
right.
of speech here? Why don't we have rights to assemble? Why don't we have right to bear arms? Right and keep bear
Mm-hmm.
arms.
Yeah, well, actually, that Second Amendment is one of the big reasons why people want to do away with the Constitution or rewrite it because they're like, well, someone might have said to me recently something along the lines of, I said, let's tear this government down to its foundations, keep the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And someone says to me, it's like, well, maybe not all the Constitution. So I asked, and the response was the Second Amendment. And I knew well enough not to get into it, but it just
Oh,
goes to show you people don't understand that if you take away the guns, you might take away these horrible shootings, but you also take away the ability of a population to defend itself from a, a,
tyrannical,
a tyrant or whatever. Yeah.
tyrannical government. Yeah.
Yes. And no one thinks that's a realistic proposition in this country,
Well,
as
I
if
mean,
we're that fucking special.
that's why they wrote it that way. They wrote it that way because they were dealing with a tyrannical government, a monarchy, where they have a king and a queen and their word is law and they can put you to death, you know? So they just had dealt with this and they knew that there's no perfect system, that this is all an experiment, a social experiment to see how we can get it right. And then when this fails, like how can we recorrect it again? I guess and that might be where we're at right now. Like how do we recorrect this decent system we put in place? Because we've changed so much. We've shown that you don't need slavery, even though there's slavery in China making our goods here, but we don't see it, so it doesn't affect us. Just much like war. Vietnam was the last war to ever be shown on TV. People were outraged over it. They stopped showing it on TV. They stopped showing it. They didn't let
Yeah.
you see what war is because it's
When
too
did they
much.
shot? When did they stop filming the coffins coming off the planes? Was which war was that?
The
Iraq? I
coffins,
mean, oh, not.
I think coffins might be more recent.
No,
Yeah,
it's got to
yeah,
be 15 years at least. Like they
yes.
don't show
But that was what I'm saying. Like
coffins coming
they
off
used to
planes.
be like showing war correspondents in the war, or pictures in Vietnam. Then they're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this is fucking not good." People are freaking out about what war looks like.
as they should.
And newer was that they even wouldn't let you show. So now you can't. And they try to say it. It's like some way of like disrespectful to the
The
soldiers, right?
families.
Yeah, it's because you're
Yeah,
taking their image, and the American Indians said that, and we took their land. So you see how that works.
no, they don't even go to like stealing your image. What they blatantly say is
Yeah.
is it's disrespectful to families to film the bodies of their children coming off a plane because people are using it for political purposes. But putting political purposes aside, that's really important that Americans see the bodies of Americans coming back from war with those flags draped on the coffins. That was a huge factor in those anti-war protests when they would just see the bodies again and again and again.
And then they jumped in and said, "Oh fuck," and got in the way of a peace movement.
Yeah, people accept their rationale. people just accept the rationale. They don't even think about the fact that it's outrageous to see those bodies. And they just accept a government rationale that says, oh, it's disrespectful to the family. Think of the family. And everyone's like, well, I don't want to speak against the family. It's like, motherfucker, if you would speak for the family, you would speak about those bodies coming off the plane.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I guess it's the power of image must be so powerful. Like the power of word we've discussed at some point, or we will discuss way further, definitely. But the power of word, extremely powerful. The power of image obviously must be extremely powerful because they won't let you see war. They won't let you see the end of the war, or see the dead troops coming home, or dead, these dead soldiers being returned, which I don't know that I'm all for having to show those pictures. I don't know that it's like, I don't think that's important, but the very fact that you can't is like, that's where like, whoa, man, what's going on? Because it almost seems like that's in the way, like somehow a visualization is speech in a way, like that visual image is
Is 1,000 words, you know?
Yeah, yeah, picture tells it. Yeah, exactly.
They say it for a reason. It's 1,000 words in that image. Like if you think about the image of the coffins coming off the plane, you could talk about it for days. Forget 1,000 words. You could talk about it for days.
It just touches you because there's no color, there's no gender.
No, it gives me chills just thinking about it.
That's a dead brother, sister, American that's died, and they put their name out there. We don't know how they died, maybe, or what the cause is, but you know that they put their way in harm. They got in harm's way to make us a little safer. Is what the ideal of it all is. Now, because that's the one thing is like in Vietnam, they attacked the soldiers and they should have been attacking. I guess they were also attacking the system, but they attacked the soldiers.
That was fucked up. I hope collectively we know that was fucked up because they were drafted.
It is fucked up because they were drafted. That's the exact point why it's indefensible in a way that they were.
How about this? Even people who were not drafted, we shouldn't condemn them either.
Yes, we shouldn't condemn the troops, but what we need is some higher level of accountability. The troops, and I'm saying this just like the military personnel, can also speak up when atrocities are happening and not have it all hidden, so that they can be part of a healing for something bad that's happened, instead of like, well, they were forced to do it because the Nazi troops were also forced to do things that were horrific. Our troops have been forced to do things that were horrific. Every military in the world has forced their troops to do inhumane things, unfortunately, not just in war, but in the name of defense of the corporations and the defense of all these other things that the troop or the military doesn't even know about, because it's all compartmentalization. They're just doing said task. And I think they all get a karmic, you get a karmic pass as long as you weren't out there doing extra, you don't get to rape and murder, we're trying to do better than that.
If you go out as a soldier and you don't rape and murder, you have less karma on your back, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But it's easy. I think it's easier for people to I say it all the time, like, oh, Mr. Peace and Mr. Anti-War. It could be easier for people to take that perspective to hold blame over those soldiers, but those guys are, I feel for them because every war we've got into since World War II, we've been lied into. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to those people who signed up, but you're young, you're naive, you're 18, you're 20, and you go into the military and you don't have any idea about the real fucking world. And the fact that your government is lying to you, like they quite literally lied us into every war. The easy one is like weapons of mass destruction. All the people who actually came out publicly from our government military that said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, every one of them knew they were lying. And they manipulated people. They conned them into joining their cause. So I can't hold them accountable, because once you throw them into Fallujah and you're like, why'd you shoot up that car? It's like, because you're in fucking Fallujah, bro. And you were tricked into going there. That's why I don't want to hold them accountable. I want to hold the leaders accountable.
That's the cool thing we has just come across from both of us here, is like we're obviously both pro-human, and we both understand that these people took on an oath to do something important or what they would think to be important. I was one of those. I signed the paperwork when I was actually 17 years old to join the United States Marine Corps. And yeah, the wisdom I hold now versus then is very different. Like even the wisdom I
Oh, yeah.
sorely held thereafter was so much different. It's just, and I think we just we're both pro military personnel in the
Agreed.
sense of like,
The
thank you for
people
doing this
aren't the
for us.
problem.
Yes, yeah,
They
no,
go
it's
into it for any number of reasons, and often they're good.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the our military has been used. They're basically as a security force for corporations in this world right now, which is really
Yeah,
unfortunate
a
because it
fucking
doesn't
hammer for
seem that way. But it's,
yeah.
in Ukraine, or I mean, I hate to pick like recent scabs, but it's you said it in the Middle East, like what we did to Iraq is like tragic. Like
How many Iraqis died? Do you know off the top of your head since
is it
2003?
is it
2003, not the first war, but the second one.
I feel like I heard this number within the last 48 hours, and it was like, God damn, it's millions,
The conservative estimate is 1 million,
a million.
and
Okay.
that's when you downplay it. Now, I mean, just take a second to wrap your mind around that number. 1 million humans. Now, 9/11 was 2,900 or something like that, and this is 100 times that.
Yeah.
What's if it was whatever the let's not play math games. The point is 1 million humans in just Iraq, just that one
And
country.
and then that's their homeland. Like um Iraq, Iran, those people they have old traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just once again, it's usually this corporations, these weird things happen, sometimes in the name of religions, but I think the religions get funded by it
Mm-hmm.
because then there's still money at the end for the corporation. And that like Iran or Iraq, blah 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 blah. Iran was extremely progressive in the 70s. It was this very progressive place. It was yeah, it was largely Muslim,
They
but there
were,
was
yeah,
also there was other
yeah.
things going on there. And then there was some political change. There was seems like it was kind of funded by the CIA. And then that entered in
Well,
a
to
different
just
or Mossad or some type of
to
intelligence
say for what it
agency.
is, our country overthrew the Mossadegh government with a coup that was run by the CIA.
Yeah.
That was 1970. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's going back to the 50s. Let me not fuck this
But
up.
then
But
there's a change after that.
back in the 50s, I believe the
Yes.
Mossadegh government was overthrown by the CIA, and they put in the Shah of Iran. And it wasn't until 79 that the Islamic Revolution came along.
Yeah.
But we took their democratically elected government and we put it there in that country. We took their natural resources, their oil, and we gave it to our multinational corporations. But there's something that's, I think, really important that you're talking about. It's like these people were very progressive, and I've heard someone recently say that the people in Iran are a whole lot like us in America. They have really similar ideals. They have really similar desires for what they want out of their lives, and the Islamic Revolution really put a damper on that. But the Islamic Revolution only happened because we gave that country to our multinational corporations, the oil companies.
Damn. It's weird. It's wild. I was gonna say weird. It's not weird. It's just
Yeah,
wild. Because if
I'm
you
gonna.
think who like the corporate big boys here who got crazy in the industrial revolution in this country, pre-industrial even revolution, and it was all like oil money. Oil money becomes this commodity. Oil is then somehow like barreled. It somehow has an amount, even though it's just pouring out of the fucking ground or you're pumping it out of the fucking ground. There's like a barrel of it and it's this much, and I understand it takes money to process and bring things to market. But the idea, like, yeah, the Rockefellers, look at all the destruction they did to this country. Because we were just talking about Iran and we're saying,
Yeah,
oh, this is what happened in Iran. And this was, these multinational corporations for oil. And then in this country, there's so much has been dictated in this country, um, and from oil money,
Yeah.
Standard Oil, Rockefellers.
Mhm.
And that then was broken up from Flagler, and Rockefeller then they created all these other small oil companies.
Mhm.
And then they took that money and really molded society. And then I would have to think that's also kind of probably being done there. I would just
Well,
assume
tell me this,
that
Jim
Iran
Pine.
is then it's molded by this money, this
Yeah.
influx of this unnatural amount of money. And the same thing here happens. Rockefeller with go ahead. I don't know what you're
No,
going to
no.
say, but
I'm going
I'm
to ask you
ready.
a question. What are they? What major products in our lives are made with are petroleum based?
The entire medical system is petroleum based.
All the allopathic medicine. That's a good start. Nice one. Boom.
And that was funded by Rockefeller, and he started the American Medical Association,
Mhm.
and they basically outlawed and eliminated through like character assassination and just like hate mongering against any natural forms of healing modalities that were used. That's where you're going to get your snake oil salesman and terms like that, things of that
Mhm.
nature, where it's like, oh, these, yeah,
They're
yeah,
attacking natural medicine.
yeah, man. And look what's happened to the humans. It took decades to do it, and many decades to really keep polluting us over and over. Because not everybody's going to jump in, because they're going to be like, wait, I could chop an onion up and put
Mhm.
it on my foot, and like I could
Oh
hang
yeah,
some
you
vinegar and
shove an
strips.
onion in honey,
Yeah.
and
So yeah,
that's an antibiotic.
yeah. So
That's
some people
supposed to
were
be
like,
snake oil.
they kept doing that, but then through propaganda, also being advertising, which is
Mhm.
propaganda for your
They were
product.
heavy into it. Those Rockefeller, that
Yeah.
organization was heavy into it,
Well,
and
the
they had
power of
key
the mind,
players who were famous.
because advertisings literally can change a person. Like you can come by something I've created, and they probably realized it because of art. They probably realized art could move people in such a way and make people feel so inspired by seeing
Mhm.
some type of visualization again. See this visualized form come at you, and it expresses all these things to you. And it might some art, it would be very different for you and for me. But when it's Heinz ketchup with the red label and
Mhm.
the reason they use a certain font, and there's going to be other symbols and all these weird things that are just happening,
57, baby.
and they don't, the 57, they don't, and you don't even, you're just like, wow, man, that's art. And it's like, yeah, I'll get that one, because
Mhm.
it Heinz 57 ketchup does taste good.
Bro, people put 50s labels on their wall and call it art. Like an old label from a fucking gas station or a ketchup company or shit like that. Like people actually think that is art. It's like, I get it. I mean, it is because an artist made it, but it's still someone's marketing. It's like the when I
It's
heard some chick got a tattoo of a Vulcan stone on her like bikini area or whatever. And then of course this is 20 years ago because Vulcan, but it's not, and like I understand it's art, but it's marketing too. It's like, god damn.
well, the art is the image that you're seeing, but it's all corporate propaganda. That's the difference. Is like that's a corporation that did all this to instill a certain thing, probably
Mhm.
to get you to do this other thing, and it might just be identify with their brand. And then they'll use other tactics to get you to buy that brand. But
Yeah, man.
um, this is where we're at. I don't know how this conversation started
Oh,
in one
well,
place
here,
and ended
what
here,
else is
but
made from petroleum?
okay, what else is made from petroleum? Most beauty products.
Beauty products. That's a rough one because you put it on your skin and your skin
Yeah,
absorbs it.
yeah. And I say
That's
most
nefarious.
because there are things in that industry that are very natural, that aren't, they're not.
But makeups, deodorants, body
Yeah,
products, like body products. Like that's really important. Like a lot of body products are petroleum based. It might be your shampoo, it might be your makeup, it might be your deodorant.
so
But the
scary.
fact that petroleum is not necessarily conducive to human health. That's not like the thing you ingest to feel better. It's not good for you.
Yeah, not petroleum. We are very good at digesting oils. certain oils,
Oils, sure, maybe too
certain
good with
oils,
seed oils because like
not seed oils.
corn oil and shit like that's not
No,
necessarily good
I'm
for you,
thinking
but
avocado oil, coconut
good,
oil,
great
olive
ones. Yeah.
oil. These things in
Yeah.
their natural form are very good for the human body. And
Yeah.
and this is what we've gotten away from. We've gotten away from olive oil, and it's about motor oil, like, even they it's
Oof.
in this country, especially, we might, man, we are just fucking, it's disgusting. Like, you can go buy a bottle of olive oil and it can say 100% olive oil right on the
Mhm.
label, right? And it doesn't have to be 100% olive oil. That's the
Yeah. And
craziest shit ever. Like, that they just can add other stuff, and they're like, wow, it's
I've heard that too. Like, what is it, Pine? Maybe you remember if you take a bottle of olive oil and put it in the fridge overnight, if it gets foggy, it's not actually olive oil, or is it some other? There's some way of. How about this? If anyone wants to, you can just go ahead and Google how do I know if my olive oil is actually olive oil, and you'll find out that most of what goes into commercial brands of olive oil ain't entirely olive oil. It's other stuff.
yeah, seed
Because what you
oils
said is
and,
true.
yeah,
It's not
filler.
100%.
Which then takes me to this whole idea is like, so we own stock in Bertoli, but we don't own stock in Bertoli. We own stock in the company that owns Bertoli, that's on the market. Like, whoever, Bertoli olive oil is not on the market, the stock market, I don't think, right? But
Well, let me ask you this. If I invest my money in Bertolli stock, it might be going to the parent company of Bertolli. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I actually haven't researched this specific thing. I just brought up a name of an olive oil, like Bertoli,
Oh,
and I'm
fair. Any
saying
company.
I
Insert the
bet
name of any
I
company.
bet Bertoli's not on the stock market, but there's a parent company that owns Bertoli. That's who you're investing in, right?
I
So
agree.
so here you are. You're investing in Bertoli because you invest in Italian Food Goods Inc. or whatever the parent company is that owns it. And you're like, all right, I make money off of this brand I like. Because now not only do you buy Bertoli olive oil, and you'll obviously see at the end of this conversation, we're not being sponsored by Bertoli, but you take their olive oil and you buy it. And that's one way you donate your money to that company, because you think it's a good cause. It's somebody you support. But then you also buy stocks, right? You're doing investments for your future, and you're taking money and you put it in stock portfolios. And those portfolios own the parent company, Bertoli. And here you are, you're like, now I'm just super supporting this Italian sounding name, doing olive oil. Maybe you're an Italian American and you're like, yeah, I'm supporting my heritage, my forefathers who fucking paved the road for this. And then lo and behold, Bertoli's not even giving you fucking olive oil, because so you can make more money on your stock of the parent company that owns Bertoli.
Oof.
They cut the olive oil because it costs too much to harvest all these trees in Italy and then to ship it here. And but boy, if we add 3% of this, we can increase our profit margin by.
Mhm.
And then they
The
do that
eternal growth model.
because the corporations are beholden to keep the money rolling and to get the stock higher. Like, they're beholden to the stockholder to make
Uh-huh.
more. But here you are, maybe a beautiful Italian American thinking you're getting this olive oil, and you're
Yeah.
supporting this whole brand, and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm Team Bertoli. I got a tattoo, everything. I got fucking 100 grand in Bertoli stock, and boom, they're not even giving you fresh olive oil, and they got to keep cutting the percentage on it and doing some weird thing that they add in more. And they use lobbyists in Washington, because this shit wouldn't fly in fucking Italy. And they use lobbyists in Washington to change words so that you
Mhm.
don't know the words changed. And then it could say all natural, and you could say 100% olive oil, but hey, we always, we allow for a 7%, there could be something different in there. And they probably have all this little fucking lawyer verbiage that allows them to cheat you as you're making more money, and you're like, my
Mhm.
stock's growing, as your
But you're cheating
your olive oils
and
diminish.
the customer.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me see if I got
And
this
you're
right.
the
So
customer.
let's say I own an olive oil company and I'm making $1 million a year, right? I'm doing good for myself. I'm doing great. And I might be a person who is content to make $1 million a year. But then I decide to let my company go public. And now I see this great big growth and I'm making a ton of money. But for it to continue, for that gravy train to continue, I have to have constant growth because investors need the dividends or the returns on their investment. So since I've gone this corporate route of being on the stock market, now I got to have constant growth. And because I have constant growth, I got to undermine my product and I got to trick people into buying it and I got to do all kinds of nefarious corporate bullshit.
Yeah,
As
because
opposed to, yeah, as opposed to if I just owned my fucking company and was content to make a goddamn $1,000,000 a year, I could still provide a great product to people without the need for endless growth. I think it's that business of investment and stock markets that make this system, right? The system of perpetual growth. Now, of
yeah,
course, a corporate mindset too, but you know what I mean.
well, yeah, but that's what adds to the legal greed of capitalism. I'm not, dude. I didn't go to school for finance. I have a kid that did. I didn't go to school for all this money talk. I have a kid that did. I don't know all the perfect
You
verbatim,
didn't
and you
really go to
didn't either.
school either. It's like you got out of high school, so did I. Good for us.
But my point is, like, I just know that it's a wild thing. I think we've discussed this before. Like, it's a wild. I know we have. I don't know if we've done it here on the, I think the last episode, but capitalism. But it's like, no, humanism. The
Way
humans,
better
bro.
pick.
It's about the humans. What everything's like you you can't sell a product that's not the product. Like literally the Rockefellers destroyed fucking natural medicine because they didn't have
Yeah.
it all like scienced up. You know, they weren't in a lab being able to like and they just did all that on purpose so that
Forget
they
that it
could
worked.
destroy that. Yeah, it doesn't matter that it worked. And they changed it. And then they introduced something in the name of health that's really in the name of dis-ease. And then that's the same as our corporations. It's like, oh, we're here to help these companies, but it's like the companies are only here to help humans. If you're not here to help humans, what the fuck are you doing? If you're in some other business that has nothing to do with helping humans, what the fuck's your business? What are you doing? Like, seriously, I haven't really thought this out. Please throw at me. Maybe your mind's like thought of 4 things already. You're like, Jim, come on. What about this? What about that?
No, bro. I
What
mean,
about
maybe your
this?
company is the only way they want to help humans is to make a widget to fucking pass the time having fun. You're still at least you're trying to help humans.
Sure,
The
that's
problem,
entertainment. Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
the
that's
problem
true.
to fucking capitalism is that the people who make the most money pitched the hardest to say that this is the most important thing because they benefited the most. They made the most money. And then the mission of commerce becomes the mission of what people do with their time becomes making money as opposed to benefiting humans.
Got to get away from that, man. We got to get towards benefiting humans. All these products need to be in the ideal of benefiting humans. I'm not saying entertainment because then you get like it can get too idealistic. But we can't be like producing forever chemicals. Like that's not good for. And when I say humans, I mean nature. Also, I think Mother Earth is like part of the tribe. And we need to be paying great care and respect to Mother Earth the whole time you're doing all this.
Nice.
You don't want to just strip everything. If you strip it all bare, there's nothing left. You got to be more wise. That's why our
Yeah,
cultures
because
are.
we're polluting the fuck out of this planet. There's no doubt about that. Like
Yeah,
you'll never get me to buy into this like, oh, anthropogenic climate change, global warming. It's a whole can of worms. And I think it has nothing to do with what we're doing. But let's just really be clear on the fact that we are literally poisoning the water, the air, the soil. We're we're really messing up this planet with all the toxins we dump in it.
that are petrol. Most of them are petroleum based.
Yeah. And this is one of these things like we talk about this a lot like you control the narrative, you control the world. And there's this narrative out there that cow farts and cars are changing the climate. And it's like my thinking is no, that's false. And I think there's a lot of science to back it up. But what we should be looking at is industry is poisoning every aspect of our planet. And we're not addressing that because we like cow farts and cars. Meanwhile, it's every industry that produces things on this planet is poisoning the air, earth, and water. And that's not where our focus is. We're focused somewhere else. And that makes me kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I worked for a corporate municipal utility authority, which was a water and sewer authority. And the best of my knowledge, we did not add fluoride to the water. I didn't see any fluoride. I didn't see any products we had that had byproducts of fluoride. We did put soda ash, chlorine in liquid form. So that's I think that's hydrochloride. And we put lime for pH balance. And that lime was like mined, and I think it was like 100% lime. It was white. It's white powder. You're not supposed to breathe it in. It's not real fucking healthy. Lime. Yeah, I believe you cover it in body. You cover dead bodies with it, and they decay quicker.
Faster. Yeah.
Also sweetens your soil. If you have a lawn and you put some you put some lime on the soil, pelletized lime, it will sweeten it up.
I'm sure the bodies will sweeten your soil too. So it's like,
oh, that's true.
Make sure you get it all. Make sure you get it all in there.
Well, then you got to spread the body out. So now you need a wood chipper, or you need to be good with a knife. But we digress. I have no fucking clue.
No, but it's nice to know that someone who worked in a municipal water department didn't see fluoride going in the water, because we know that it goes in the water. It like begs the question, like, where does it get there? How does it get there? Maybe that town you worked in was one of the towns that don't add that to water, because there's plenty that don't. And some people legislate to have that process halted in their towns.
I think it's sodium fluoride is what they do use. The thing is, when you do groundwater, you don't have to add as much chemicals. So there's not all these places where you could just add chemicals also, like, hey, we'll throw fluoride in, because there's no like, hey, we're putting fluoride in here because it's good. Like, we're doing an additive because it's good, which has now been shown that it's a toxic chemical. But they were like, hey, it's going to cost a lot for us to get rid of this. Is there any way anybody could help us find a use for this? And then they're like, hey, let's say it makes teeth and bones stronger. And if we fund some so
it's an industrial byproduct.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Yeah. It's like if we yeah, man, this is how it works. They paid advertising companies to like come up with ideas for shit, to like, hey, we're paying to get rid of this. Is there any way we could sell this?
It's like bacon and eggs.
Yeah. It's
bacon and eggs was not a traditional American breakfast until Edward Bernays came along. The godfather of marketing, or whatever he is. Yeah, he was lobbied to come up with a marketing campaign to make bacon and eggs the go-to American breakfast, because prior to Edward Bernays, it wasn't.
That's that we're getting back to advertising. We're getting back to propaganda. It's just like all this keeps, like, we've literally just stayed in the same conversation, and it's been organic as fuck. Because
good. Well, hey, repetition is good. Refresh us on the Smith-Mundt Act and the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. Give it to me in 30 seconds.
The Smith-Mundt Act was created so that we would not we found out our intelligence agencies were using propaganda against foreign governments, and they got nervous, or they, meaning our government, was like, hey, you can't do that here. You can do propaganda against foreign governments, but you cannot do it here. And in 2013, President Barack Obama, I believe through an executive order,
NDA, National Defense Authorization Act.
It changed the Smith-Mundt Act and repealed it, basically, and created the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which then said, hey, we're going to do this way more modern. You can do propaganda against foreign governments still. We're not going to stop you. But cool thing, you can now do propaganda here. Click. I think that was
click. End of story. Thank you for that summary, Mr. Jim Pine, Agent Pine, because I need that sometimes. I need it for myself, and I think everyone needs it a little bit, that we just got to keep revisiting some things so that it gets burned into our brains, because if we don't remember these really big acts, Our boy
Google
Sam
it.
Tripoli, your boy, not my boy, but our boy Sam Tripoli said something really interesting the other day when I was listening to a podcast. He's like, there's three things that were huge pivotal roles or pivotal game changers in America: the creation of the Federal Reserve, the assassination of John Kennedy, and I think the third one was 9/11, but I can't remember for sure. But it was things I needed to be reminded of. It's like, oh,
Well,
what
that's
are
the
the
Patriot Act. It was interrupted. It was created from the result of 9/11. The
Yeah,
Patriot.
maybe he said the war on terror. I can't remember what he said exactly, but it's like I needed those reminders. I needed someone to remind me. It's like, hey, these are really, really big, important things. And that Smith Modernization Act, it is so, so big and important, especially when you look back at something like COVID, where the FDA and the CDC were legally allowed to lie to the American public, and it was protected. They were allowed to do it legally. That's why that Modernization Act is so important.
It's fucking mind blowing, is what it is. And like, yeah, they make it legal so that your tax money can then be used, well, to pay off the interest of the Federal Reserve, but we'll then run up a deficit so that we can fund the intelligence agency so that they can do propaganda on you, so that we can create a narrative to get a point across that we're trying to do that probably isn't good for you as an American citizen, but it's really going to help this corporation out over here. So, hey,
Hey, I want to pivot sideways for a second based on something you just said, the paying interest to the Federal Reserve, because this is one of those things that's really worth repeating. And it has to do with a whole big pile of money. The federal debt in 2010 was whatever, however many hundreds of billions or however many trillions of dollars of federal debt in 2010 was. Roughly 2010. I'm not going to hold myself to these numbers, but around that time, we were paying $300 billion a year to finance our debt. Now, this is like your car payment. You got a sweet deal. You got a 3% APR in your car payment. And you buy a $30,000 car and you still pay like 10 grand or whatever over the course of that loan to pay for that car. But you got to pay for that debt. You're paying every month to pay for that debt. Back in 2010, the United States was paying something like $300 billion a year to finance our debt. And fast forward to now, where our national debt is something like 32 trillion. We as a nation are paying something like 800 billion a year to finance our debt.
that's a good interest rate.
Yeah, now just let that sit for a
I
second.
like,
Good point.
Just
That's
for
a good
everybody
point.
watching, Matt started talking. He went from like whatever he said, 300 billion or whatever the number was, to like, well, his $34 trillion, and he literally, you started scratching your head, dude, because like you
Fucking
can't,
smacking my head too.
yeah, but no, literally, like 34 trillion. It's like, it makes you, it's like, that's like not like nonverbal, like identity, like it's like, this is making me scratch my head right now, dude. Like,
Bro, dude, the
look at
numbers
you.
are
You
insane.
look like you're like a dude that just tried to balance a checkbook, and he just found out that you're 34 trillion in debt. Like,
In debt.
oh
Yeah.
fuck, dude, we went out to dinner too many times last week. Oh
Yeah,
god.
no. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, the debt, it's all, it's like raise the debt ceiling or don't raise the debt. So it's like, fuck, get rid of the debt. But now let's back this up though. It's like, 10 or 15 years ago, we're paying 300 billion a year to finance the debt. Now we're paying 800 billion a year to finance the debt, or it's $1 trillion a year to finance the debt. Now, our military expenditure is the biggest expenditure of our government by far. And that's something like $875 billion a year.
That's without black budgets.
Without black budget. If you include the intelligence agencies, you're automatically at $1 trillion a year. But we're spending something like 800 or $1 trillion a year to finance debt. Now, if you just stop to think, like, well, what's the point, bro? What's the point? The point is this: we're paying someone. We're paying someone's 800 billion, or we're paying someone roughly the military.
We're paying
budget.
somebody interest to operate as a country. I'm just breaking it down real quick. Like that part of your car payment, we're paying that to somebody else so we can operate as a country because we don't want to do our own banking as a country.
Yeah, because we
So,
don't want to do our own banking, bro. Thank you. That's the best way to put it in the
yeah.
world. So we're paying the equivalent to our military budget for someone to loan us money. We're paying them interest. It's like, how the fuck as a nation do we even abide by this? Why don't we round up all those bankers and throw them all in jail right now? Because they're taking $1 trillion a year of our money that could have solved homelessness, got you college for everyone, got your infrastructure rebuilt over the course of years, like everything you could do with that money. And what do our legislators choose to do? They choose to inflate that budget and keep paying private bankers insane amounts of money.
Interest. Like,
by the interest. That's
yeah,
what they're doing. They're paying the interest.
We're paying people interest to operate our country, to people that don't even have the money to loan us that money. But since it's all virtual and there's no gold standard to it, they can be like, yeah, sure, you can borrow another trillion. Sure, you can do this. They're like,
it is all virtual, but the money that comes out of your bank account to pay your taxes, you can't spend that money on milk, bread, car payment, college fund, none of that shit. Well, now, here, let indulge me for one more thing and I'll shut the fuck up. But again, one of the things we've got to remind ourselves of is you play this game. How many seconds is... Sorry, let's start over. How many days is 1 million seconds? 11.57 days. That's 1 million seconds.
1 million seconds. That's a thing we all understand is a second. So 1 million seconds equals 11.5 days.
Yeah, 11 and a half days.
Next equation, everybody. Scratch
your head. How
many
years is 1 billion seconds? Okay, that's 31.69 years. Call it 31 and a half. The difference between 1 million and 1 billion is 11 days versus 31 years. Now, look, I could do anything for 11 days. I could...
anything?
Not anything. I mean, that's a joke, but there's a lot I could do. I could work for 11 days straight.
11 days is conceivable. It's like, oh, all right, there's 11 days.
I could have a fever for 11 days.
I could not have a beer for 11 days.
And all kinds of things. I almost said again, anything.
I could do mushrooms for 11 days.
For 11 days. Now think about that difference. The difference between 1 million and 1 billion is 11 days versus 31 years. Remember high school math? How many billions are in a trillion?
No.
1,000.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. So
31 years.
31 years. So it's 31,000 years.
That's what
between 1 million and 1 trillion.
Yeah, that's what the difference
11
between
days,
1 billion and 1 trillion is.
11 and a half days, 11 days and 12 hours, or 31,000 hours, or 31,000 years.
Years.
We don't, humanity, they try to tell us humanity's like, kind of like, we're not sure, but.
Yeah, no, forget, yes. We'll forget for a second this million bit, but you hear about like, oh, Elon Musk has $230 billion. It's like, wow, good for you. But then when you think of when they say we spend $1 trillion a year on our military budget, that's 31,000 years of seconds. That's inconceivable. 31,000 years? 31,000 years. When they say $1 trillion, I just always tell myself, oh, they just said 31,000 years of my time because I measure my time in seconds. That's why this is so insane, because they make this fake money and they give us just a little bit and they take it from us every time we pay taxes. And then they give a group of people money equivalent to 31,000 years of seconds. That's why I don't actually mean to sound like I'm joking when I say we should grab up the bankers and lock them up.
What they're doing is crimes against humanity.
The crime against humanity is so fucking staggering that I really think at the very least, the top people in these banks should be locked up. Now, that lackey who's just working a job and that guy who got a good executive position, they're kind of like the officers in the military. I can't really fault them because they're doing what the law allows, what the culture allows. I just happen to disagree with it so strenuously that I think these top dogs should get rounded up and tossed in jail, because what they're doing is what you said. It's a goddamn crime against humanity.
Definitely. Definitely. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. It's, it's a society that's perpetuated this, and that's where we're at with that. But yeah. I think we usually do this earlier, but break the news.
Break the news, Pine. Break the
fucking
news.
news. Break the fucking news. So what we do during this segment is we go into Google and I just see what pops up. What's the news they're popping up for me?
Let's see what we get.
There's some Padres, Houston.
Baseball.
D&D. Well, you can see what I look at. Baseball and D&D.
I was going to say Dungeons and Dragons came up in the news. I guess that is tailored to your thread.
Yeah, because they're talking about how we have to worry about AI like making D&D right now or some shit like that. But that's not what the news is, everybody. That's not the news today. Break the news. This is too funny right here. Okay, we're going with this. The moon is open for business and entrepreneurs are racing to make billions. A Business Insider, everybody. Business.
Oh my God.
It's got a picture of, can you see? It's got a picture of hold on.
It looks like a NASA symbol over the moon that says open.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. That's awesome. I would love to talk about the moon because I'm making myself sad talking about all this other fucking shit.
Well, we've talked about all this other stuff before. Okay, they got a couple points here.
It's made of
before we get to the article. So we have a picture of the moon with a neon sign that says open around it, and it's very cool. Some good advertising. The moon is open for business. This is by Robin Phelps, an insider. First bullet point looks like it's gonna be NASA is going back to the moon, and this time it means business.
Ooh. Business as in capitalism business. Yeah, I got you smart guys. Yeah, write that article.
We'll strip mine that motherfucker.
Yeah, clever people.
Number two, the second point here: private companies are helping it build lunar transport, GPS, Wi-Fi, and more. Private companies are helping. Helping NASA build these transports, GPSs, Wi-Fi, and more. So so the corporations,
private companies, they're
going to make money off of just going there, let alone what they're going to steal from the fucking moon or take. And this new market, which is worth over 100 billion, could be game changing for humanity. Did they just say 100 billion?
100 billion, yeah. What the fuck is 100 billion? That's a tenth of our military budget. Yeah, you're gonna tell me that's got to be a game changer?
Ukraine's like, we didn't even have to go to the moon, and we got 100 billion this year.
They did, the sons of bitches.
So this new market, which is worth over 100 billion, could be game changing for humanity.
Well, you know why it's 100 billion? Because it's ultimately just going to disrupt the dairy industry. The motherfuckers made of cheese, and you know
it. That's incredible. Oh my God. It's just so funny. This all comes with, at the exact same time, they just gave us Blue Book, or not Blue Book, or the Poverty Blue Beam, or whatever. It's like, we're going to tell you about aliens. They're real, guys. Hey, we were lying before. Sorry, we had to lie.
Because, have they said that? Because we're talking about the moon, and can't help but talk about like the UFO disclosure going on these days. And they've always said, it's swamp gas reflected in the light of Venus, and there's no UFOs. And now lately they come out and they say, yeah, there are UFOs. Did they ever actually say like, hey, sorry about all the lies for 70 years?
Oh, no, they never tell you when they lied to conspiracy. They call people conspiracy theorists, and then the conspiracy theorists were just theorists that were correct about a conspiracy.
They were theorists.
They're conspiracy factors, and they don't ever go back, Matt. I think we've just seen this. But what you can do, is you can go to the Sean Ryan show, and you can go to episodes 60. I thought I listened to them all. 66, 66, and 66. Well, it's 3-part, 66. And it's with 3 different whistleblowers that all went in front of Congress and under the penalty of perjury told stories, and they're not long episodes. They're all less than an hour, but they talk about, wow, okay, all right. So it's like, go listen to those, and then just
Yeah,
do
yeah.
any. Then he
And
looks. They're releasing the information. They're telling us that there's something else, which makes me then question that, because like, why are you telling us that would
right,
only
and
benefit them?
that David Grush testimony before Congress came out just a little bit ago too, and
Yes.
that's part of this too, right? Do you know anything about that?
David Grush, I'm definitely familiar with and saw the interviews, but yeah, he wasn't part of those three I just gave. But definitely look at the David Grush information, because he also was a whistleblower, and I think he said bodies, not 100% positive, but it's at this point. Go ahead.
He introduced a new phrase to us. It was alien biogenics or some shit like that. They had some stupid like sciencey phrase that we're supposed to all catch on to and repeat forever.
They love the phrases, pictures, and like tell us bullshit. But yeah, so apparently we're going to the moon. And let's see, let's Artemis is not Apollo 3. What NASA is aiming to achieve on the moon is something that's never been done before. Wow, really? While the Apollo missions of the 60s and 70s wanted to see if humans could reach the moon, the Artemis missions want humans to live there, work there, and build there. So this is what they're looking to set up colonies on the moon. This is the Artemis missions, it sounds like. And I like how they're just saying it's worth $100 billion. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But very interesting. So everybody, trying to find where you can put your resume in if you want to go work on the moon. But it's out there. Maybe this is the way they solve our unemployment problem. We'll have
Oh, we
droids
could
build
all
stuff here, and then everybody else can go slave mine the moon.
talk about living in a 15-minute city. You're not going to get past that.
Yeah, 15-minute cities. It's a day away from Earth.
Hey, so if they drop a number like 100 billion, is that a manipulation? Is that some kind of mind fuck? Because we talk about the military budget at 800 billion. We talk about all these fucking giant numbers, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go all the way to the moon, and we're going to have $100 billion. It's going to take them 90 billion to get there and get back." I mean,
Well, they'll spend a trillion to get there and build it.
that would be a perfect government project.
Yeah. So it's just funny. Like, here they are telling you, like, this should be okay. If our intelligence agencies and our government has intelligence agencies that basically hide secrets because the public can't deal with the truth, so that we have intelligence agencies to protect the public from the
Yeah,
truth, so that we can
because they
all
can't
live.
handle the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah. Because it could be, it could be very voracious, not voracious. That's all I'm trying to think. But
It's hungry.
no, the reason they couldn't show the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, but they could show the Amber Heard one.
Salacious. That's right.
Salacious.
You
Yeah.
can't have cameras in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial because the
That's
information was salacious. Oh, someone fucked a kid, and
Yeah.
you need to protect me from those words. Okay, just checking.
They primed America to want to watch. If they put that shit on, dude, there would have been some Americans watching. So you're gonna tell me that, like, no, this would all be protected by the intelligence agency. This is all bullshit. Whatever they're saying right now is bullshit, dude. Because the
Yeah.
corporations are part of the intelligence agency. The intelligence agency keeps secrets. The corporations keep secrets. And they're not going to tell us the truth about all this, whatever they're saying right now. Yeah, they're
No, and these
probably
sons of
going up
bitches
there.
probably use the organized crime right alongside everything else. I mean, actually, who am I kidding? They probably just look at the CIA uh, cocaine import to the United States.
Yeah.
They worked with cartels to do that stuff. And anyone who's still telling me that that's a conspiracy theory, it's like, just please, for the love of God, just do a little bit of research, and you could find out that the CIA brought drugs into this country, and they used the cartels to get it here.
It's out there. Tom Cruise was in a movie about it.
It was fun to watch that movie. I mean, those movies always
interesting.
go the same way. They give you a real big high in the beginning because of his criminal enterprise doing so good, and it all comes crashing down. You end up feeling like shit at the end of the movie.
And it's just him with Bush's number in his pocket, but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Who is it? Barry Seal?
Yeah.
Going into not Minot, Arkansas, but
I don't know.
whatever. It's a great story. It's
Some
worth looking up. But you know what, bro? You got me on the moon. Give me something really fun about the moon that just tickles your fancy. That may or may not be true, or that is true, or something like. Is there any moon shit you like to talk about?
Okay, here's a good one. I just thought of this because will the horoscopes of the moon still work on the moon? Like, will horoscopes work since the horoscopes like kind of like in
You
a
saying
moon
I could
cycle?
change my fate by moving to the moon and getting a job up there?
Dude, maybe you have different horoscopes, bro.
Wow,
Maybe it'll
it's
all
like
work differently because you're
it's like
on the thing, dude.
the American frontier in space.
Is there a tide on the moon from Earth? And wouldn't that be extremely drastic? Maybe the whole dark side of the moon's just all the water is collected over on that side, which wouldn't make
You'd
sense.
think it'd be the opposite,
Yeah, I know, but I was already
but
saying something that was going to be stupid, so I just went along with it and
well, I'm ready to
owned
double
it.
down on stupid if you are.
All right. Anything for the moon for you? We need to put
Oh
a
man, I have things about the moon I love to talk about. Hey, how about this? The heroes of the Apollo mission. Um, why do these guys like really shun press conferences, all turn into depressed drunks, never throw a baseball at the start of a MLB game? Like what happened to them? Was it that they went through the Van Allen belts and the radiation fucked them up? Or like why weren't the heroes of America acting like heroes and soaking up some limelight, getting some sweet puss or dick or whatever they want? Like, why weren't these guys just owning it?
I
They
bet they
went to
got
the
pussy.
fucking moon.
I bet they got puss.
I hope so.
I bet they got puss. And
They
maybe
sure
they
didn't get it in
didn't.
public. Like
Maybe they weren't philanderers.
you never heard about the scandal of Neil Armstrong fucking Marilyn Monroe. I mean, there was that. I guess she was dead by then, but
Yeah, because he's probably said all the right things, so they don't put the scandal out. They only put the scandal out when you fuck up.
all right.
But these
Buzz
guys have
Aldrin
fucked
went to
up.
the moon.
They have fucked up. There are interviews with them saying crazy shit now that they're getting older.
It's good, good. That's what I want to dig into now. Real quick,
Yeah,
just
but
because I don't want to be misinformed. This did Buzz Aldrin go to the moon? Because
yeah,
he's busy doing shit. He's got a wife 30 years younger than him, and all this stuff.
yeah. Buzz Aldrin, Neil
So Buzz went to
Armstrong,
the moon. Now he didn't end up
and
like
some
a
other
sad,
dude.
depressed drunk, but Neil Armstrong did. Like, what was Neil's problem?
Wait, isn't Buzz Aldrin the one that's like punched people in the face?
Yeah. I'm just saying he's got at least he's got some vitality. Like I said, he's an old guy who punched a dude in the face. He got a young wife. He went to Antarctica. Like he's doing things. But
Michael Collins, is that the third one? Or am I
I
thinking about more recent? I think I'm thinking more
I
recent.
think Michael Collins is recent. I
That
think he
might be
might be
Challenger.
yeah, he might be one of those disaster
Sorry.
pilots.
Yeah.
But in general, those guys didn't really like take the spotlight. They were national heroes and they weren't really taking the spotlight when they could have. And like, am I supposed to believe that they're all just like these stoic warrior types who are just doing their job and they don't want to get a little pat on the back? I just find it weird
Well, they
that
are like military.
they well, not even like military credit where it's due. You just said it. They are military.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they are into some type of like it's military. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's
Yeah.
Air Force or what it exactly is, but they're in something like that. So the military doesn't exactly do a lot of that, even
Uh-huh.
though they have now in the last 2 decades gotten really good at like they pump a lot of money into sports to see the flyovers and the
Yeah.
veterans honor this and do that. But it's all very pro war as we got very pro war as a country
Mhm.
or
Maybe
pro
it was a
military.
cultural thing. But that's one of my little fun points to talk about moon stuff. So yeah, hopefully they got some ass. What how else do you want to break the news about the moon?
I don't really have. I'm just looking up something right now. Oh, it's a day apart. Or was it 2 days apart? I was just trying to link Kobe and the space shuttle blowing up. I was like, was that the same day? And it's like, I think it's a day apart actually. Like also
All right,
years
that's
apart,
close.
but it's at January. It's in that there's a ritual period right there. I don't know. What can we make positive out of all this fucking horror that we've spewed into the fucking ears of people?
I don't know. I guess UFOs are real. I don't know if
Are
that
they?
would add. I don't know if that's going to double down on the horror or not. But
Are UFOs real because UAPs aren't? I mean, what are we talking about here? Are we playing with
I don't
letters?
know. I don't know. You know what? I know a lot of stuff we talk about is negative, and I know I'm a unique personality type to get a little jazzed up on that. But I get jazzed up because like knowledge is power, and knowing what is going on in the world gives me hope that we could break the system and turn things around.
I mean, that's not having true knowledge is power, and through the questioning of authority, looking to get rid of or dispel narratives that are not true. The narrative, actually, the facts that aren't true, narratives can be created. It seems to be where we're at right now. If I look out right now, today, this day, and what I see happening, I see a lot of people more, we'll say, fighting back, and in any facet you can mention, I bet I could almost kind of come up with something as a warriors that are fighting back. Is it parents fighting for their children because states are saying, no, no, we have the rights over your child. We can be,
Mm-hmm.
like, when you've really done nothing wrong, except maybe you don't want to let your 5-year-old chop her tits off, like.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like right now it is that there's people fighting back against school boards, and you start at the
Yeah,
local.
that's weird.
So because of that movement of starting at the local, people have been, the fire's been lit in millions of Americans, and they're out there doing it right now. I thought there was a really great podcast on Sean Ryan with a um I don't know if he's a fucking senator or I think he's a congressman from Arizona. Not that one. Eli Crane. He's a congressman from Arizona. That just there are people out there fighting right now. There's people that are waking up. People are like, hunters aren't like going like, all right, we'll stop hunting and supplying meat, like organic meat for my family. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not happening. There's these movements happening, fishing, hunting, gardening. People are realizing we can't rely on the interest of uh, corporations that only care about money, because then they're going to get it from China, create slavery to do this. Like, it's all fighting back. I mean, Jocko Willink created a denim company in this country. Organics not organics, Origins, and they make all kinds of they make gis for judo, but it's all made here in America with looms and fucking the whole process, and they do it all from
Nice.
beginning to end to make great products. And that's what I do see. I see there's a difference.
You can bring manufacturing back to this company.
It has
It's
to be
gonna.
come back. It's not that we have to do it.
Well, I guess you're 100% correct with that. We have
Yeah.
to,
Whatever the cost is, we
but
have to
also
do
it's
it.
not impossible. Those corporations that move their companies overseas, they knock the buildings down to the foundations and like, no, we can't bring it back because we don't even have a warehouse anymore. That's actually a lie. They
Yeah.
can do it.
Just like they said, we can't go back to the moon. I guess we are now. I guess they found the plans. They must have found the plans finally, because they've lost
Mhm.
the plans to go back to the moon. And that's why we've never gone back. And,
Yeah, why
things
not?
changed. Why not? Well,
Why
that's
haven't we
that's a
gone back? It's
different
like
podcast, my friend.
you're right about that.
Why not? That's a different, but that's the 3-part series. Why not? A lot of homework needs to be done.
No, I like where you're
Um,
going though. You know,
but that's the positive. I do. I see it out. I see it around me. I see change, and like you meet a gentleman, and then it becomes really interesting because you then know that gentleman isn't just like, oh my God, that's some super wealthy businessman. It was like, oh no, that guy, he's a player in the game. He's not part of the 300, but he's on the skirts of it. Maybe he is a 300. I don't know, but
no,
you wouldn't
no,
have
but
known that
he's
years
an
ago.
insider though.
You wouldn't have known that a long time ago. Now you know. You're becoming like, we're all becoming more aware. The best we can do is to spread this word, spread this message, keep it peaceful, love each other, and just know that we're being divided. There's not much more to it than that.
If there's any message to really push out from this podcast, is the one you just said, know you're being divided and just go ahead and love your people.
Yeah.
Go easy on them.
Well, I think we've covered a lot today. Agents of Aquarius out.
Agents out.